Hello, everybody. Welcome to 54
Wait,
Nights.
We weren't supposed to start recording
I'm
again. I was
recording
just being
it.
silly. You're not supposed to do that again. Hi.
So, the other day, I saw this video on YouTube. The title of it was kind of a negative title, which, you know, that's clickbait. You know, negativity draws views for whatever reason. So that one kind of, you know, immediately I'm just like, really? And then I got into the content of it. Okay, the title of the video was something along the lines of "Don't buy a pop-up camper." We owned a pop-up camper for a long time. We've had a couple of pop-up campers. You had a hybrid, which is kind of a pop-up camper, but not quite a pop-up camper.
I think you like saying pop-up camper.
Pop-up camper, pop-up camper. Yeah, so I start to stutter after a minute. But it became obvious watching this video that this individual who is telling the world not to buy a pop-up camper
You didn't never have a pop-up camper.
had no experience with a pop-up camper. I mean, the first clue was they leak. I've had more problems with leaks on the motorhome and on the bumper pull trailer than I ever had with a pop-up camper.
Because we didn't have any with pop-up camper.
Exactly. So I thought, you know what? Let's just do something positive. We're going to tell you why you have just got to get a pop-up camper.
Make sure you get online right now and look up pop-up camper.
You know, and honestly,
for sale.
If we were made out of money and we had 100 acres to store different campers, we would still have a pop-up camper. We loved our pop-up camper. We still love pop-up campers. But, I mean, come on. If you want a glamping style, you got to have, you know, one of these.
Guys.
So, the pop-up camper. For many, it's considered the first step up from the tent. You know, whether that tent is on the ground or on the bed of your pickup truck, your overlanding 4x4 rooftop tent. The pop-up is the next step up. You know, unfortunately, you're no longer a part of that rabble-rousing, stay up till dawn with the music churning tent crowd, but
AKA you're getting old.
Or you got a family.
Yeah, that's...
So, you know, one of the things that we enjoyed about the pop-up camper was you still had that tent feeling. You know, when you wake up in the middle of the night, you're hearing the sounds of the wilderness wherever you're camped. If you wake up at 9:30 at night, you're hearing the neighbors, you know, blaring Hank Williams Jr.
Hey, that could happen at 2:30 a.m. It depends on your neighbors.
But I mean, as with every camper, with every pro, somebody's going to have a con for it, which is why there are so many different types of campers, and why, you know, there are people out there that absolutely would not have a motorhome. There are people out there that absolutely would not have a fifth wheel. You know, there's a camper for everybody out there. But that's what we liked about it, was that tent feeling. Mm-hmm. You have the dinette, you've got a mattress. I mean, yeah, granted, it's not a very good mattress, but you can always add something to the top of it to make it more comfortable.
We had a shower and a toilet in ours.
Yeah, we had a shower and a toilet in one of ours, a sink, and a cook stove that we could hang on the side of it.
And microwave.
Yeah, and you know, if you get the right pop-up, you can have most of your camping gear prepared, waiting in the pop-up, where it's just minimal packing, as opposed to tent camping. It takes half a day to get packed up for a tent camp, and then another half a day to get set up.
Would that be in there?
No, it wasn't. I tried several times to get it just perfect. I think Oh, how about pop-up camping in the snow? We've
done
done
that.
it. We have done it. And you know our attitudes about camping anyway. We're caught on a motorcycle in the rain and we're laughing about it. We go camping and we get snowed on in a pop-up camper or a tent or a hybrid, and
it's an adventure.
it is. It's fun. And the difference between the tent and the pop-up though is you've got a heater. You've got plug-ins for, electric blankets. Now they have heated mattresses in these campers, by the way. So it's doable, and if you're out there, you wanting to play in the snow, and all you have is a pop-up camper, okay.
Just be careful. The roads is the getting there.
Quit momming it. Okay, one of the other reasons that pop-up campers are awesome, they're low profile. The compact size, just all together. That low profile means it's not going to be that much of a drag in the wind when you're pulling it down the interstate. I think the average height for a pop-up is about 5.5 foot tall.
And speaking of drag, you can grab it by the hitch and pull it around
Yeah.
if you need to.
Yeah, that's the other thing. And when we stayed in Hot Springs many, many years ago, we liked the view out of one side of the campground or campsite, so we just grabbed it by the tongue and drug it around so the door opened up to that view. I mean,
And it was a heavy pop-up.
It was a big pop-up. I think it was like a 3,200 pound gross vehicle weight rating on it. So it was one of the larger pop-ups. It's that compact size is great. Now, that compact size for somebody coming from a motorhome or a fifth wheel, it's like, oh, wow. And where do I put? But for somebody coming from a tent to a pop-up, we were those people. It was like, oh my gosh, this is a mansion.
Yes.
I mean, wow. We got a table, we got a sink, and a stove. Oh, it's a refrigerator.
It's like the fort, their treehouse fort, but on steroids.
Yeah. I mean, it is great. It really is. I mean, especially coming from tent camping. If you're wanting to move into the RV world, pop-up camper is a perfect transition. It's a step up from tent camping. That's an opinion. I know. I understand a lot of people, you're not camping if you're not tent camping or sleeping in a sleeping bag under the stars doing the cowboy camping thing.
I think sleeping with a sleeping bag under the stars might not be real camping. You might need to be butt naked out there. I mean, these people get pretty serious about you're not real camping unless you're.
If you're wanting to go from tent camping and move into the RV world, the pop-up camper is a perfect transition point. And, compact size, you can pull a pop-up with just about any SUV out there on the market. I mean,
Or van.
Yeah, the gross vehicle weight rating, they range from 1,800 pounds on up to like 3,600 pounds. I mean, you can get these things light, little 8-foot box, and the dry weight on them is like 1,200 pounds. So if you don't load them up, you could pull them with just about anything out there. So, but then you get to camp and you don't have anything. There's that. So, I mean, you don't have to invest in a large truck. If you're going to go buy a fifth wheel or a larger bumper pull, you're going to have to go buy a pickup truck or a full-size van. With a fifth wheel, you may need a 3/4 to a 1-ton pickup truck, and that's a lot of money just to go from tent camping into the RV world. So going from tent camping into the RV world via the pop-up camper, it's a great transition, and it's not that expensive. I mean, that's relative to everybody's income, but it's for an RV, you can get a pop-up. I saw a Flagstaff, a brand new 2021 Flagstaff, 8-foot box, had a sink, had a stove and a refrigerator and a furnace for $8,000.
Wow.
I mean, that's for a brand new pop-up
Slide
camper.
out?
Didn't have the slide out on it. So I mean, and that's another thing she brings up is slide outs. A lot of them have where the dinette slides out, which frees up the floor
Makes a big
space.
difference, especially if you have dogs or kids.
But I mean, It is a great transition vehicle.
Yeah.
You know,
Now,
going.
if you hate tent camping, it may not work. But if you like tent camping, but you know you really want to get up off the ground and get away from the bugs, and you want some extra, you know,
Yeah, a little extra amenities.
Right.
You know, want, instead of having to go up to the bathhouse to wash your dishes, you got a sink right there.
yeah.
It's. I love pop-up camping. I really do. I like tent camping. I love pop-up camping. You know, just all of it. But I mean, what's one of your favorite things about pop-up?
The view when the weather is right, when you open up the windows and
Oh
in the
yeah,
bunk end.
yeah. Oh my gosh, you open up all the windows. It is you get more light and more view than what you do in an Airstream.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's everything opens up, and in the spring or the fall, you open all that up, and you've got a nice breeze coming through, and just you get that entire enveloping outdoor feeling.
And I'm scared to say all because I don't know for sure, but most you have the screens and you have a clear window.
Yes.
So you can unzip and then you've got a clear window if you know it's raining or something and you don't want to get wet.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, wake up in the morning and unzip that tent end and just
Stare out the lake or wherever you are.
Yeah.
Now, if you're in the circus parking lot or something, that might not be what you want to do. But if you have a view, it's really nice.
You know, and the one thing about pop-up campers that I'm a little strange on this, but this is one of my favorite things about it is if you've got a family, it is a team building exercise.
Oh yeah, we had that down pat.
You know, when we had that pop-up camper, and this is one of the reasons we got rid of it because the kids grew up, but you know, when we had that pop-up camper, we had 2 girls and a boy. The boy was the youngest. He was 6 years old, 5 or 6 years old when we bought the camper, and his first job was to put down the jacks on all 4 sides, and he had to wait until we had the top of it elevated, and then he could start doing it. And it was one of those things we had to teach him. And you know, the girls had the bunk ends. You know, they'd each grab a bunk end. The taller one would grab the bunk end over the tongue, and the shorter one, which she's still the shorter one by the way, would grab the bunk end on the other side of the camper. You know, and Mom and Dad, we had our jobs, you know, hooking up the electric and the power and getting everything set up the way we wanted it.
And the kids were proud of their jobs.
Oh,
they
yeah.
did them. They were good.
You know, we would pull up to a campsite and everybody would pile out of the van or the pickup, whatever we had at the time, and just go to it.
I don't remember any complaints about having to do that.
No, there really wasn't.
It was almost
It was
part of the adventure, and they were excited. And
so yeah, that's one of my favorite things.
that was pretty cool.
And we had, when we stayed in Albuquerque, New Mexico, at a KOA, we pulled up and did the whole fire drill thing. Everybody piles out of the minivan and sets up the camper, and this whole time there was this older guy sitting in front of his camper, just sitting there reading the magazine, and he kind of had that magazine laid down, was watching us the whole time. And when we got done, he looked at me, he said, "That was amazing." He said, "I've never seen that before. That was just amazing." I didn't know what he was talking about it, and he explained to me what he was talking about. I'm like, wow, okay. So yeah, if you can't tell by now, we love pop-up campers. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of them out there anymore. Flagstaff, Rockwood, maybe a handful of others out there, but they are great transition vehicles to go from tent camping to RV camping, or even if you're wanting something that you want to take off, you know, go off into national forest camping and stuff. They are small,
The blinds are moving behind us because cat walked back there.
You know, they're small, and you're able to maneuver them in places. You can put them in places where people tent camp. I mean, you really can. Like she said earlier, those things are so light. You pick them up by the trunk, by the tongue, and you can maneuver them between a couple of trees to get them back where you want them. They're
Have a
great.
second person that's got a chalk walking around behind the tires, though. It's just a suggestion.
Yeah, I can't say enough about pop-up campers. I really can't. And to, you know, like I said earlier, there are pros and cons to everything out there, and it really is a lot about what kind of camper you are. You know, if you're the one that rolls with the punches and you just try to get the most out of every single day, regardless of what it's doing, I think you would love a pop-up camper. Now, if you're somebody who is very regimented and it's got to happen, you know, this way and that way, I kind of got to question why you're into RVing anyway. But pop-up camper is probably not the way to go.
Yeah.
As far as quality, build quality, they're made out of the same materials that the motorhomes are made out of.
You know, one of the best pieces of advice we got when we first got the first one that we actually bought was the guy said, if you're trying to crank something or do anything and you get some resistance, stop.
Yep. If it won't go, don't make it go.
Yeah.
Find out what's stopping it. That saves you a lot of problems down the road.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's something as simple as the canvas has drooped down and is in the way of the bunk end going all the way in. If you try to force it in, you're going to tear that canvas.
Because they're made of the same stuff, but you have to crank them up and stuff to get them.
They're made of the same stuff, but think about what motorhomes are made of, okay? Yeah, that is our positive take on pop-up campers. We can't help it. We like to be positive. We like to put positive stuff out there on YouTube. It's just...
So annoying.
We'll catch y'all down the trail.
See you later.